Hi, my name is William Stewart, and I'm with the Birkenbreck. Today we're making a video on Kentucky Amendment 2. It's a bill that's proposed that would take public funding and give it to private schools. Some people against the bill say that it's going to take money away from teachers and students who need it in public institutions, but people for the bill think it's going to help people have like better choices for their schools.
I'm here with Miss Jankowski, and she's a public school teacher. Are you voting yes or no on Amendment 2 for the Kentucky Constitution?
I am voting no on Amendment 2 for several reasons. First of all, as a lifelong public school teacher, I believe that public funds should be used for public education. I believe that those who choose to send their kids to private schools or Catholic schools are making a choice to fund that. I think there's a lot of misrepresentation about this bill in the public. My children do attend private schools, and my husband teaches at private school. And I've been really honestly disappointed by some of the statements that I've heard from people who maybe don't understand the issue fully. And I think that ultimately people should vote their conscience. That's what I'll be doing. And I believe that what is best for kids all across Kentucky is to fully fund our public schools and leave private education to those who make that choice. And that's how I'll be voting.
Today I'm here with the Birkenbreck, and I'm with Liam Amick, who goes to Trinity High School as a senior. He wrote in the Courier Journal about Amendment 2, and so my question is, what motivated you to write this?
Yeah, well, so it's an issue that I'm very passionate about, and kind of how I got the idea was I was talking with my brother, who he's a sophomore at Manual, actually, and he's a part of their Red Eye journalism program. Shout out to them, they're amazing. And he's writing an op-ed also about Amendment 2, but for their program, and I really wanted to write something about it, but as I said in the article, my school journalism program generally doesn't really like a lot of talk about politics or anything, and I was like, well, hey, maybe I could go to the Courier Journal with it, and I looked it up, and it was, I just sent it in an email, and then a couple of days later it was published.
Nice. So since you go to a private school, so Amendment 2 would be benefiting you, so what makes you want to oppose what is benefiting your school to go with what public it's like?
Yeah, for sure. And something that I definitely want to clarify is when I wrote the article, although I definitely was not very happy with some of Trinity's policies about it, I still love Trinity. It still provided me a great education, but overall I think it's about the common good, you know?
Yeah.
And Trinity has enough. You know, as I said, like we installed a video board a couple of years ago. Like we have donors that can provide the funds that we need. So although it would benefit our school, I feel like it would benefit it in unnecessary ways that it would be better if that money stayed with public education. And yeah, so just overall, it's kind of just a personal desire. Like I personally feel very strongly that also, sorry, this is kind of a sidetrack, but it's not all about Louisville. And I think a lot of people make this issue very strongly about Louisville. Also, a lot of the opponents to my piece, what I've heard is like, they're like, oh, well, you've been in private school. You're like, you don't even know like how rough some of the JCPS schools are. But what I say to that is, it's not Louisville Amendment 2, it's Kentucky Amendment 2. And as I said in my article, you know, 89 out of Kentucky's 120 counties have no real option for a private school. So if those schools lose their funding to help benefit a small percentage of people in the biggest cities in Kentucky, it's overall, I think, going to be really detrimental for the state of education in Kentucky.
Okay, so this is Jacob Goodflesh. He's a senior at Male High School. Do you support Amendment 2, yes or no?
No, I don't. It's I think it's just taking money from people who don't necessarily agree with what private schools do, and if you don't abide by what Catholic schools and private schools, like the message they put out, I don't think you should have to fund them. And I think it's just taking away money from public schools who need it more. Like it's just taking away from something that's already like there's not enough resources in the first place for.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This is Ariana, and she goes to Male. She's a senior. What are your opinions on the Amendment 2 of the Kentucky Constitution?
I don't think it should happen. I feel like public schools already don't have a lot of resources, and like they're funded by donations and stuff and fundraisers. I feel like if you're gonna do that, you're taking away from what people already don't have access to. A lot of people can't pick whether they go to a public school or not. I just feel like it's just like kind of selfish. So I don't approve of it.
Okay, so we're here with Mr. Kathy, Coach Kathy, principal of Male High School, and do you support Amendment 2? Yes or no?
Ooh, man, dang, just straight to it.
Yeah.
I would have to say no, I do not.
Why not?
I think there are a handful of things. One, I'm somebody that I highly support any person, individual, family having their individual liberties. Like, I should be able to make my choices of family. So that's always number one. I state that. But with something like this, I'm worried about kind of the term I use is a backward hustle. Hustling, you want to hustle. But sometimes when you hustle too much, you can wear yourself out and push yourself backward. This is kind of an example of that. And what I mean is it's almost like a rebate. Sometimes when a company gives you a rebate for $200, they just end up increasing the price of what you're buying for $200.
Yeah.
And if you study this a lot of times nationally, most states that do this, basically, let's say every family, I don't know what the number is, let's say generically they would give us $3,000. What most schools will do, the private schools will just increase their tuition by $3,000. They're just going to get more money. And that's kind of my concern with it. So do I think there could be some things about it that could be good? Because like I said, I always want to make my choice for my family. Like, I'd much rather have the money and let me do it, but I just worry about that other end of the spectrum. So no, I don't support it because of that.
So that does sound kind of shady. Do you think who do you think this will affect the most?
I think honestly it would affect our entire community. I'm biased because I know how I started, but I'm gonna be real, especially because we're in Louisville. It's going to impact our minority community the most. The reality is a lot of times we try to use our minority community to say, oh, let's use this and we're going to give them these greater opportunities. And sometimes it can be that. But a lot of times these types of specific examples, it's almost like they're using my type of family and stuff as their poster child, and not really, is there really going to be any change? Like I said, they're just going to increase the $2,000 anyway. So it's almost like you're just using me and my family or my people off 38th and stuff as, just fodder, not anything really substantive. So that's who I think really it would impact probably the most.
What solutions could you see coming forward for families like that?
I think honestly what it comes down to is, one, understanding JCPS and what JCPS has to offer. I think a lot of times where we get lost in the sauce in the city is we think that JCPS is just this big organization, and no, JCPS is every single one of us. Like, Male High School is JCPS. Like, this is a great option for families. My daughter went to Central High School, my oldest one. A lot of people know that. Great option for her and her family and everything that she was trying to do and what she's trying to go with her life with the law program. I've got a nephew that graduated from Ballard. Great school and institution there. So again, we have so many different schools and so many different options and things that you can look at. I think sometimes, like I said, we get lost in the sauce and just think, okay, like, I heard this one bad thing about my neighborhood school, so that means I can't go to my neighborhood school. No. Again, my oldest daughter went to Moore for middle school. She had a great, amazing time. So we have amazing schools in this entire district, and that's what I think we have to jump into and really invest in.
So why do you think JCPS is misjudged?
I think, honestly, just because we're such a big district, that it can be very, very easy, the term what I just said earlier, to get lost in the sauce. Public schools are always a reflection of the community around, because what do we bring into we're the people when we come into the public schools. So whatever's going on in the greater community, you have that reflection. So once something happens at one school, and again, do we know how many, do you have any idea how many schools are in JCPS?
180?
About 100 and, let's say about 150 to 170, especially if you include early childhood and stuff like that. Well, think about statistically, things are going to happen. Mm-hmm. So again, you just have to understand, like, when things do occur, how do we respond and how do we keep things positive and make sure we're supporting all people. So I think, like I was saying, like any city that you look at, public school is always going to be a microcosm and a kind of an easy scapegoat for people to kind of attack and say, look what's going on. But I say it all the time. I mean, you teenagers can't even go to the mall anymore after 6 o'clock by yourselves. Well, again, the world's changing. 4 o'clock now. So now it's even more like the world is changing, and it will continue to change. So we just have to lead and do what we can, especially for our public schools.
So do you think that they're attacking do you think they have ulterior motives when they attack?
I think it can be. And let me also say this. Understand, anytime you have debate like this, remember there's some of those that have very sincere, we want to get something accomplished. Then you have those people that are just kind of attacking, and they're using it as a political kind of stance and almost adding some vitriol to it. So I do think there are those people that sincerely want to get this done, and they want to get it done for their family. And that's kind of why I began the way that I do. I understand that. You want to advocate and do what you need to for your family, do that. But also be willing to have the conversation about what is best. What is best for your family, what's best for my family, what's best for the greater community, and all of that.
How do you feel about the Second Amendment?
The Amendment 2, I oppose it.
Mm-hmm. But okay, so why do you feel this way?
If Amendment 2 is passed, then funding for public schools would be in jeopardy. It's going to affect schools all over the state. It'll affect Jefferson County because we have a lot of private schools, and we would lose students probably to private schools. Some people would be able to make pay for the tuition with Amendment 2. But I don't think it won't pay for all of the tuition, because in most states, the amount of money that you get is maybe a third to a half of what you really need to pay for the private school. Mm-hmm. So someone who is truly low income would have a really hard time affording that just on a voucher. Right. And it's going to weaken the public schools. Mm-hmm. Out in the state, there are some districts that there's only one school, it's one high school, and there are no private schools to go to. But if the state funding is going to be giving money to private schools, it's going to have to come from somewhere. Yeah. So the likelihood is there'll be less money to send to those schools. So I think it would actually impact schools out in the state more than it would here. So I strongly oppose the amendment.
Right.